lose 4-1 to the Columbus Blue Jackets yet again, back-to-back days. Dear God, can the regular season please be over already? Can we get started with the Stanley Cup playoffs? All right, babes, I have to do this, right? Let's get into it. First period, Alex Ovechkin, who did not play in yesterday's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, with his Capitals having already clinched everything. He is back today, baby, and he announces his presence right away on his very first shift. Starting things off with a bang, a minute and 10 seconds into this game, takes a pass from Dylan Strome and rips it home past Jackets netminder Jet Greaves. What a beautiful shot by Alex Ovechkin. Absolutely cranks this thing past the netminder and into the back of the net for his 43rd goal of this season already. He has only played roughly 3/4 of this season due to that broken leg that he had mid-season. But yeah, baby, 43 goals already for the 39-year-old captain of the Washington Capitals. It is also obviously the 896th goal of Alex Ovechkin's National Hockey League career, and it is assisted, like I said, by Dylan Strome on the primary assist. That is the only assist on this goal. And yeah, that is Dylan Strome's 52nd assist of this season already as well. So Ovechkin's 43rd goal of the season puts the Caps up 1-0. So things are looking good, right? The Capitals captain is back in the lineup and they have already got more goals than they scored in 60 minutes in yesterday's game, just a minute into this one. And Alex Ovechkin, honestly, all night was playing playoff hockey. He was in this game. He was super physical yet again. He was all over the place. He had tons of shots on net. He was just everywhere. Like I said, throwing the body around, getting to the dirty areas on the ice, making things happen for his Capitals. He could have had 5 goals tonight. Jet Greaves was on absolute fire in this game. What a game by the Columbus Blue Jackets netminder to keep their playoff hopes alive. But yeah, Alex Ovechkin, he was the best player on the ice today, by far, other than, like I said, maybe the Columbus netminder. So he was absolutely fucking flying out there, folks. Playoff mode, like I said, he is ready. And now we just need the rest of the guys to get the memo here. Because yeah, it was pretty much all downhill after Alex Ovechkin's game-opening goal. And to be fair, okay, I want to be fair. I did think that the Caps played much, much better today than they played in yesterday's game against the Blue Jackets. They definitely played a lot better, okay? So I will give them that. But the execution is still not there. Like, they are just not executing. They created a ton of scoring chances for themselves today. Like I said, they played hard, okay? They played hard. That's not what I'm saying here at all. I'm not saying that they didn't play hard. They totally did. But the execution is way off right now. Like I said, they created a ton of chances for themselves today. They capitalized on none of them other than that one that Alex Ovechkin whipped into the back of the net. But yeah, everyone else, like, it's not clicking for them right now, right? Like, those goals that have been going in all season, it is just not happening for the rest of the guys right now. And so you want to see definitely the execution, right? Like I said, the effort level is there, totally was there today. I thought they played really well from an effort standpoint, but the execution wise, we need to see that get picked way up before we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs in about a week. And yeah, talking about the effort level, like, if you can believe it, if you guys are familiar with moneypuck.com, a great analytics website, if you can believe this, the Capitals were actually on the deserve to win a meter that moneypuck.com does. The Capitals actually should have, like I said, according to moneypuck.com, they should have won not just today's game, but yesterday's game in Columbus as well. They should have, according to the analytics, won that game yesterday in Columbus that they lost 7-0 on the scoreboard. So that is probably A pretty good example of why analytics are not everything, because you have to execute as well, but it does show that the effort has been there for the Caps. They just have to start executing once again. And they also have to start getting some saves, man, like ASAP. It has been a long time since a Caps netminder, any of them, had a save percentage that started with a 9 for any one individual hockey game, okay? It has been a long time. I looked at it just the other day. Charlie Lindgren obviously has been starting most of the games for the Caps recently with Logan Thompson out, ailing with an injury. Lindgren, I believe it's 9 straight games now that he has had a save percentage that starts with an 8 or lower. So nothing that starts with a 9 for 9 straight games now for Chucky. So that is not great. And I believe it's 10 of his last 11 as well. So need him to pick it up for sure as well. Hunter Shepard, obviously a terrible game by him yesterday, but I don't want to shit on the kid too much. He just got here. Like they say, I just got here, right? He literally was playing his first National Hockey League game of the season. So I don't want to be too hard on him. I think he stepped into a tough situation there. Like I said, being on the road in Columbus, that team over there, the Blue Jackets, fighting for their playoff lives, right? They are so desperate right now for every standings point. They quite literally need every standings point. They cannot lose even 1 point. So they are super desperate. The Caps, obviously, like I said, having already clinched everything that they can possibly clinch as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned. Tough situation for Hunter Shepard for sure to step into that scenario for his first National Hockey League game of the season, like I said, and the Caps also missing a bunch of dudes. So tough go for Hunter Shepard. I don't want to, like I said, crap on him too much, but the Caps goaltending as a whole, Logan Thompson too, like people forget he was not playing well before he got injured. So somebody has got to step up here before we get to the Stanley Cup playoffs is my point. We need some saves. And yeah, as far as this game goes, right, I guess I better finish the recap here. So the Caps, like I said, they go up 1-0 on Alex Ovechkin's 43rd goal of the season, the 896th goal of his NHL career. Mwah, that is beautiful, chef's kiss, right? But yeah, it did not last long. The party did not for the Washington Capitals and their fans. As the Caps, then they would get the game's first penalty. No surprise there, right? Like if you watch these videos regularly, then you know that I say that every game. We literally get the first penalty, or the first several penalties, really, pretty much every game that we play. But the Caps, with a great penalty kill, they kill it off, and so it remains 1-0. Columbus would then tie it up, though, 1-1 at even strength before the end of the period. That fucker, Zach Werenski, man, is he having a great season. One of the only defensemen in this entire league who has been even better offensively than Jacob Chychrun. And that obviously is really saying something, as we all know how great Jacob Chychrun has been this season. But yeah, that is Zach Werenski's 22nd goal of the season already. So ties things up, like I said, 1-1, and that is how the first period would end. Second period, another power play for the Columbus Blue Jackets, but the Washington Capitals with another great penalty kill, and so it remains 1-1. But Adam Fantilli, great young player, makes it 2-1 for the Blue Jackets at even strength. And that is how the second period would end. Third period now, the crowd inside of Capital One Arena, they're fired up, okay? As the Caps, as of right now, they're only down by just a single goal, like I said, 2-1. They lead the NHL, the Washington Capitals do, in comeback wins this season with a whopping 25 of them. So you could tell that the fans were feeling it. They were fired up, ready for this third period, letting the boys know about it. And the Caps came out hot with a great start. Several great chances right off the bat, tons of offensive zone pressure, getting pucks to the net. Like I said, tons of scoring chances. Jet Greaves keeping the puck out of his net, doing a phenomenal job. and some unluckiness by the Caps as well around the net. But yeah, like the fans were feeling it. You really felt like the Capitals were going to tie this game. And then, unfortunately, just 2 minutes in, after all of that pressure and all of those great looks by the Washington Capitals, Columbus, they get another goal from their young star, Adam Fantilli, his 29th goal of this season already for the young kid. And that puts the Blue Jackets up 3-1. Blue Jackets would get another goal late, like within the last 5 minutes of this game, to make it 4-1. They did score that one as well against the netminder, against Charlie Lindgren. It was not an empty net goal. So 4 past Charlie Lindgren yet again here. And yeah, the Blue Jackets, they're up 4-1. For what it's worth, the Washington Capitals, they did outshoot the Blue Jackets 11-5 in this third period, but the Blue Jackets obviously outscoring the Caps 2-0 for the period. So 2 goals on 5 shots for the Blue Jackets in the third period when the Caps were trying to stage a comeback. Not great, Bob. And yeah, that last goal, obviously, to make it 4-1 for the Blue Jackets, sucked the life right out of the building. And so 4-1, that would be your final score. The Columbus Blue Jackets beating the Washington Capitals, the top team in the Eastern Conference, on back-to-back days. 4 points for the Blue Jackets. They keep their playoff hopes alive. And it will be interesting now as a bystander, right? As an outside third party, it will be very interesting now to see what the Montreal Canadiens do in their game on Monday night on Amazon Prime Hockey, might I add. It'll be interesting to see what the Montreal Canadiens do against the lowly Chicago Blackhawks. Montreal is on home ice, playing against, like I said, obviously one of the very worst teams in the National Hockey League. It should be a free 2 points for the Montreal Canadiens, but we know how that goes. That doesn't always happen in the NHL, right? So you still have to play the games, right? And so the Montreal Canadiens will need to show up. They can clinch that last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference with a win, with 2 points. So a win of any kind for Montreal will clinch that playoff spot for them. But I do think, and if there are any Columbus Blue Jackets fans listening to this video, I do think that if Montreal were to lose to Chicago in that game, that things are going to get very interesting, because I think that would put all of the pressure on the Montreal Canadiens, as they have kind of choked this away here a little bit. And certainly if they lose to Chicago, things are suddenly looking kind of bleak for them. Like if Columbus wins out, if Columbus wins their last 2 games, they can get in if Montreal loses that game to Chicago. And then Montreal, obviously, they play the Carolina Hurricanes in their last game of the season. So that is a very tough game for them to try to win to get in, right? So they would be much better off, much better served to just beat Chicago and be done with it. But like I said, if Montreal were to lose to the Chicago Blackhawks, things are going to get very tight and very interesting in Montreal for sure. Like their fans will be freaking out a little bit, and I'm sure internally the players might be freaking out a little bit as well, as then they would have to beat the Carolina Hurricanes, to get themselves in, which obviously is not an easy task, right? Carolina is a very good team. So you're better off, like I said, to just beat Chicago and be done with it, but we will see what happens. I know all Blue Jackets fans will be watching that one as well, and I will be watching that one as well because I want to know who my Capitals are facing in the first round. So it'll be an interesting game, right? I'm kind of rooting for chaos. Like I kind of want it to go down to like game 82. So I'm kind of hoping that Chicago can pull off a little bit of a miracle and pull out a win over the Montreal Canadiens just to keep this playoff race going a little bit longer, right? Create chaos, like I said. I want it to come right down to the end of the regular season. That is more entertaining for me, like I said, as a bystander. And as for the Caps, obviously, like I said, just 2 games left now in the regular season, both road games on the road in New York to face the Islanders, and then ending the season off in Pittsburgh against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins. So I'm ready for the regular season to be over. How about you guys? I'm ready to get the Stanley Cup playoffs underway here. And yeah, babes, thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for hanging in there, right, through these somewhat brutal 2 hockey games for our Washington Capitals. So I know it's not always fun, right, to watch post-game content after a loss and certainly after back-to-back losses. But the team has been excellent all season long, really. So, we can't really complain too much. I just want to see them, like I said, get it turned around here before the Stanley Cup playoffs begin. That is what is most important. That is all that is important at this point, as well as obviously getting guys back from injury. Good news possibly on both Logan Thompson and Alexei Protas. It does sound like both could potentially be available for the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we cross our fingers and we hope for that for sure. Those 2 guys so important to this team's success this season. So certainly we hope to have both of them back. So we will see how that goes, see what happens here. I don't think they will be back for these last 2 games of the regular season, but hopefully, fingers crossed, like I said, for game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So babes, again, thank you all so much for being here. Until next time, and as always, let's go Caps.